welcome to Mums at the Table. It's good to have you with us. I'm Rachel.
Yeah, it is really good to have you with us. I'm Shona.
Feeling ripped off? Coming up today, Amanda will be talking to Gia. She's our dietitian. Who else have we got coming up today?
We've got Dr. Woods.
Dr. Woods, obstetrician.
Obstetrician, so anything you want to know along...
Women's health.
Yep, women's health.
And Dr. Simone, she's our GP. As always, you can write in and send your questions and we can pass them along to her. But today, how do you cope with your children when they grow up and they don't have the same values as you? But you've been through the stage of teenagers when it's actually very common for them to test the boundaries by having different values and sort of, you know, get through those teenage years.
It's a really dreadful time.
Excellent.
Yay.
Looking forward to it.
You need to learn, well, I needed to learn to take a back seat and allow them to work through what they were going through. And I had to keep saying, and I've said this to you before, I had to trust on my parenting skills. The things that I had instilled in my children, I had to just go, eventually they'll come back round.
Did they have different values?
Yes.
Do you remember, like, what they were? Were there any that offended you or upset you or caused you angst?
Yeah, there were. And some that went very against what my husband and I believed in. And he got quite angry.
Christian values?
Christian values? Yeah, they were really pushed. Yeah. And he got angry and he was like, oh, I'm going to say something. And I just went, honey, they're teenagers. Just... let them try it. And eventually...
Is that their opportunity to test boundaries independent?
Did you not test?
No, my dad always complained that he didn't have kids who tested those boundaries enough. He's like, oh, come on.
Really?
Because he was a big boundary tester, like my dad. So he was looking forward to that phase. Apparently we disappointed him. Oh. But no, I've seen it happen, and that tends to be the time and the years, particularly as teenagers, where there's that friction with values and boundaries.
Yeah. And look, we were really lucky. Our kids continued on with church friends, and not to say that they don't push values and boundaries as well, but they've eventually come round to go, okay, I want to keep the values that mum and dad, some of the values that mum and dad instilled.
So what you did when they were young kids, they didn't let go of, they just...
Yeah, and there's a Bible text that says, teach your children, and as they grow older, they
won't depart from those ways.
Yeah.
Oh, look, here's hoping and here's praying.
Hey, I'm sitting here talking with Dr. Simone about the common misconceptions about immunisation. A topical issue for many mums.
Well, look, I love that mums and dads and parents in general are taking an interest in their child's health and being proactive and finding out about these things. I will never discourage that. I think that's a really good thing to do. You have to.
And we live in a day and age where you can.
Absolutely. You have to be 100% comfortable with the decisions that you make in terms of vaccinating your children.
Yes.
Having said that, a couple of things to talk about vaccinations. The diseases that we're vaccinating against aren't mild illnesses.
Okay.
We've had whooping cough go through the New South Wales district. Every time we think we get it under control, another little batch flares up.
Why?
Children can die because of whooping cough. Okay. The concern is that we are maybe not hitting the level of, and this is a terrible term, but it's the only term we have, the level of what we call herd immunity, which doesn't refer to our children as a herd of cattle, but enough kids in a population who are immune to an illness to stop it
eradicate
from spreading.
Okay.
We need to, we ideally want to get to around about the 90-ish% mark of children who are fully vaccinated to stop the spread of these illnesses.
Where are we at?
It depends on where you are.
Okay.
So some areas in New South Wales hit that mark easily. Some areas are in the 60 to 70% zone. Some areas are in the 40 to 50% zone.
We're trying to save our kids.
We're trying to save our kids.
There is an idea that we're putting these diseases into our kids, and we're naturally born a certain way. So
we are.
We don't need to have these things in us.
These are serious illnesses that can kill children. So babies can die of whooping cough. This is something that is not to be tinkered with or taken lightly. There has been, in the last few years, a vaccination program for women who are pregnant in their third trimester to have a whooping cough vaccination. I know it sounds like I'm talking about whooping cough a lot, but that's because it's one of the more serious of these illnesses.
I know there was measles outbreak recently.
Measles is a super hot topic issue, and actually measles is a really interesting one, because if you get measles, it's almost like even if you're fine with it, it wipes your immunity for everything else that you've had. So you're back to being a baby with no immunity again. Right. Kids hate injections. They will cry. They will be sad. There has been some unfortunate misinformation around sort of, especially talking about measles and its links to autism. That was such a rubbish study that had fudged numbers, and when it was retracted, no one ever saw as much publicity as when the first claims came out. If you are uncomfortable about certain vaccinations, talk to your doctor. If you would prefer to split them out, I would rather you get them done over a period of time than not get them done. So some parents choose to separate the injections that way. And look, if that's what makes you feel comfortable, then so be it.
Right. Look, I think it's a very sensitive topic.
Very sensitive.
For a lot of mums and parents out there. So, tread carefully and do your research. But look, you've heard it from Dr. Simone. It's better to be safe than sorry. So keep it locked right here at Mums at the Table.
Introducing solids to babies. Now, that is one thing mothers are always looking up online, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amanda's here, our nutritionist, dietitian. She's here to talk to us a little bit about solids. And I'm actually going to put out the question, when should children start solids?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Or babies, I should say, not children. We've got children now.
Yeah, it's a great question. I do remember feeling a little bit unsure about it with my first baby as well. So the guidelines are to start solids when they're around 6 months old, but not before 4 months. And also when they're showing signs that they're ready to start solids as well. So they're able to sit upright, they have good head control, they open their mouth when you bring food close to them, and they're just generally interested in what everyone else is eating as well.
I felt like opening my mouth just then too, when you're like, I'll eat. Okay. So what sort of foods would you introduce to a baby?
Yeah, so at around 6 months, babies actually are starting to become a little bit depleted in some nutrients, and they can't get all the nutrients that they need from breast milk and formula alone. One of these is iron. So you do need to start with iron-rich foods. What I've got here is an example of that, which is baby rice cereal, which is fortified. Otherwise, you could do puree legumes or tofu, or if you're not a vegetarian, meat, chicken or fish are also great iron sources too.
Right.
Then another good thing to start with is cooked and pureed veggies. So that could be pumpkin, carrot, broccoli, cauliflower, anything like that.
And do they say you should introduce vegetables first, then fruit?
Yeah, I personally like to go with that as well, just because we know babies are going to love fruit, aren't
yeah,
they?
So love the sweet
once
fruit.
they start with the fruit, they're probably not going to want the veggies. So I think it's good to start with the veggies.
Okay.
And then go to, so we've got some banana here that's mashed up, but you can also do avocado or cooked in puree, apples or pear, anything like that is great too.
Okay, and what other tips do you have? Like, I actually used avocado a lot.
Yes, me
which
too.
was great. I even put some banana in the avocado and mashed it for them.
That's a good idea.
They loved it. Mashed banana and avocado together.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Well, this is a lot of food right here. So when you first start with your baby, they're not going to eat anywhere near this amount. So starting with, say, 1 to 2 teaspoons probably, and then building it up as they start to eat more. Also just start with 1 meal a day. So you might just want to start with breakfast, and then as they get more used to eating, introduce a second meal.
Okay,
and then by
that's a good
12
idea.
months, they should have about 3 meals a day.
Yeah, you don't want to be overfeeding your kids when they're babies.
Yeah.
And getting used to it.
Yeah. The other thing is change the consistency. So you might want to start with purees, and then as they get more used to it, go to lumpier textures. And then by 12 months, they should really be having soft, cut up family foods.
Okay, like finger foods and stuff.
Yeah, finger foods, yeah.
Awesome.
The other thing I just wanted to quickly mention is some mums may be wondering, do I give my baby solids and then they milk feed, or the other way around?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
people do think that all the time.
I wasn't sure about either when I started, but definitely when you first start solids, start with the milk feed first and then solids after that, just because if they're really hungry, all they want is milk, they're probably not going to eat the solids, and they get a lot of nutrients out of the milk still. But as they're getting older, so 8 to 9 months old, solids first and then milk feed later after that, so that they're still getting all the nutrients that they need.
Awesome. Thank you. What great tips. I know you learnt a lot. I learnt a lot. Thank you, Amanda. Well, if you want some more tips, look us up. We've got heaps of tips for you. We'll see you next time. See you later.
You're going to love this next one. For those of us who have suffered from muscle separation post-pregnancy, what are some exercises that we can do to prevent muscle separation, but maybe even bring our bodies back together?
Okay, so firstly, this is a natural process. I'll just explain what it is.
Yes.
If you imagine some bodybuilding bloke and he's got his abs out and you see that the six-pack, right? That muscle that you see there is the rectus abdominal muscle.
Right.
And during pregnancy, the body changes, and as the uterus grows big, it stretches the muscles of the tummy. And so this six-pack, which is sitting right there, separates like this. And that can be what women during their pregnancy can experience, a burning sensation as it starts to separate. Right. Or as they're kind of setting up, they kind of see like this big lump appears at the top there when it's all a bit weak.
Yes.
And it happens about 50% of the time.
Yes.
So it's just a natural process.
Okay.
You're doing nothing wrong if it happens.
All right.
And it's not that easy to stop it from happening. And I think it's like...
So it's not like you can have a six-pack or work on your six-pack prior to having... It can happen to anybody.
But there might be some things you could be doing which might make it worse.
Okay.
Okay, right? So they talk about doing sit-ups...
Right.
As...
During pregnancy?
During pregnancy as being bad.
Right.
Right? Because if you've got this big lump in the middle and then there's... The rectus muscles
avoid it?
Yeah. I'm trying to explain why. Okay. Is that, as the muscles here are shortening to try and sit you up, if they've got a big bulge in the middle, they're going to go round the bulge rather than over the top, which makes them separate more.
So is there a way that we should be getting up?
So instead of just going up like this, it'd be better to roll on your side and then come up that way. A little bit more time, actually better for your back, and then you're less likely to put that stress on the abdominal muscles.
So it can vary from like 1 centimetre, half a centimetre to 5 centimetres, whereas what happened to myself. So are there ways that we can mend post-pregnancy?
So firstly, as a general rule, it will just get better with life.
Really?
Right? So just pick up your kids, go for walks, just do stuff, and it will gradually just come back together. That's a natural process. Right. It's a natural process for it to separate. It's a natural process for it to come together. Very rarely is it a really big problem where there's just this floppy abdominal muscle and it's just absolutely no use.
No comment.
Okay. There's floppy abdominal muscles and there's floppy abdominal muscles with really no support where the muscles are so stretched.
Right.
And under those circumstances, there might be a case for having some surgical repair.
Okay, so that's when
we're talking like 1% of people.
So you should probably speak to your doctor if you're concerned about that. Like you're exercising, you're eating right.
Yeah, and post-birth physio classes, swimming, Pilates, which I always refer to as pilates because that's how it's spelled. Right. Those sort of things are good to do.
Okay.
But the majority of the time is just do life and walk, pick up your kids, do your normal activities.
Yeah.
It will just gradually come back together. And so it's natural.
Yes.
It will naturally get better. It naturally happens. It's a process.
So maybe just embrace the separation. It is what it is.
It's part of pregnancy.
Thanks, Dr. Wood. Appreciate that. For great tips like this and more, keep it locked right here at Mums at the Table.
So how have your friendships gone through the last 4 months and through the pandemic in this whole scenario? Have they strengthened or have they sort of, distanced?
It's a really interesting question, that, and I had to ponder the thought. I've had some friends who, like me, are not really good at doing telephone calls and catching up. We'd catch up during the week or we'd catch up at church or whatever. So they've actually started ringing me, and I've had some really lovely notes and bits and pieces back from some friends. I'm the one who's not doing so well as a friend. Sorry, friends. But yeah, it's been nice to see. I think you get to know who your true friends are in a time like this because they're actually making contact.
So what you're saying is you're not the true friend?
Well, I am making contact. Let me take that back now really quickly. I am making contact, but I think I've got to see who my true friends are out of all of this, and who are not just acquaintances.
Yeah, I think also to be forgiving of those ones who can't necessarily, because I think lives have changed so drastically. You know, if people are, their jobs, essential workers, work might have gone up, kids are home, there's sort of that less time. And I'm talking about my scenario here. So I guess I know that there are people who've contacted me and I really value that. I feel like the communication isn't as much as it was before, but it's got more depth to it. It's got, when we talk, they're deeper, meaningful chats that we're having. You know, we get straight to the crunch, less of the fluffy stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy for the fluffy stuff. There's a place for that. But yeah, the conversations are slightly different.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, that's in depth. It's more about where are you, how are things going, are you doing okay, is there anything you need? You know, like I'm always waving out the window to the neighbour and going, are you okay?
Yeah, like I'm saying more and hi to people when I'm walking, you know, around. And so I think the communication's different.
Yes.
And for us, it's a nice different, and I think that's something we all need to be conscious of and to keep going, to check in with those people, to have those conversations, you know, be that good friend,
and
pick up the phone.
There's a way for people to contact us.
Yes, you can do that on Facebook. We're more than happy, and we've got our mums group, our private Facebook group. We would love to support you. If you're looking for some friendship, join us there. That is it from us. We'll see you next time.